Welcome to the May 21st Economic Development Commission meeting. I'm co-chair Paula Shively and doing this again. And today's meeting's being recorded and will be available on the city's website. Let's see. First, we're going to take roll. Let's see here. Joelle Gibson.
Here.
Christina Hudson. She is not here this morning. Nicole, I think you're on.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I can't be there in person. I've got a sick kiddo hanging out with me today.
Okay, well, I hope they feel better.
Thank you.
Nick
Here.
and Paula, I'm here. Gary, our newest member,
Here.
and Adrian Webb.
Here.
All right. Welcome to Gary.
Thank you.
Let's see. Commissioner Christina Hudson has requested to be excused from today's meeting. Is there a motion excusing her absence?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think we're good. All those that approve say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any nays? Okay. Christina is excused.
Well done.
Now we're moving to our first item of regular business, and that's to approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Nick. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Yay. All those that approve say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. And those opposed say nay. Excellent. Motion passes and the agenda is approved. Public comment. I don't believe we have any public here, so we'll move on. Next agenda item is to approve the minutes dated April 16th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those that approve say aye.
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 Aye. And those that don't say nay. Thank you. Motion passes for the approval of April 16th minutes. Okay, liaison reports. Councilman Watton?
Good morning. Well, I don't have much to report. I just want to thank you all for being here. This is a collection of brilliance, and I so look forward to having you. And Gary, thank you for joining this. The one word of advice is you get to bring your issues forward and have them heard loudly, where the inspiration for the council comes from this body. So with that, you have a great sense of responsibility to make sure that you speak up and make sure that the voices of business and the community are heard. So thank you for being here. Thank you.
All right. And Nicole, community liaison.
Yeah. Where are we at right now? I'm just kind of gearing up for the summer events and getting those out, getting the marketing done and getting those things promoted. In today, as we speak, the Parks Department is putting up the flower baskets, and they look lovely. They've changed vendors, and which saved the city some money. And also they were delivered. The guys didn't have to go pick them up. So it's kind of a win-win. They're, baby sprouts right now. But I think that some of those trailing petunias are going to be quite long as the summer goes on. So they're excited about it. I'm excited on their behalf. And it's, I think it shows our community and our city and our resources that we put towards that, because not every city, puts flower baskets up in their town. So it's really lovely. In June, we have 2 events coming up. Our splash pad ribbon cutting, or well, it's not a ribbon cutting. We're going to turn the water on. Celebration. Long overdue. We're very happy. So that will be June 6th. That's a Friday afternoon at 2:00. We're capitalizing on the fact that school gets out early on Friday, and we're hoping that Mother Nature cooperates and it's a sunny day and not a rainy day. But we're excited about that. The splash pad will be open every day from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Big Truck Day is coming on Thursday, June 26th. That's a signature event for us. It's happens at Centennial Field. And depending on the weather with that event, like 2 years ago, great, really hot day. We had up to about 700 people. Last year, it was a little bit rainy in the morning and it was a little damp. We had about 400 people. That event is not only a good community event for our community, but it's also a tourism event. I track the attendance where they come from. They all get a goodie bag and we ask where they come from. And we've had people from Portland, Marysville, Whidbey Island. We have everybody, every single East Side city, everything on 18. It's just a lovely event. And what kind of sets us apart is that hold the horn. So for an hour and a half, the horns aren't going, and I need to talk to the people there this year and not do the lights. But that's for children that are on the spectrum, and that would just kind of, not be good for them. And then the last half an hour, they can go crazy. And very happy with the school district this year. Great partnership. We officially have the parking lots at the school next door and Mount Si High School because we run out of parking, and it's pedestrian friendly from the high school to the park. So it's going to be okay. So that's kind of my updates right now in my realm. If you have any questions, let me know.
I have a question.
Yes.
We had talked about the wayfinding signs and
Yeah.
there were some that still needed to be moved.
Yes.
Is that still happening?
Yeah, that project is trickling to the end. I know they are not complete and they are nearing completion. And I'm hopeful that they will be done by, I guess this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. That's probably not going to happen, June 1st. So
I think they only have 6 left.
6 signs or
6 blue signs.
6 blue signs. So yeah, we will all celebrate when that happens.
Great.
Nicole, can I
Yes.
ask about that?
Absolutely.
I won't go into the weeds on it, but when we talk about the wayward signs,
Mhm.
there's the framed version where those look like they've, for the most part, been replaced or they're new.
We redid the entire system of signs. It was 82 signs.
And then
Mhm.
there are some individual signs, I believe.
There are individual signs like I would call maybe if what you're thinking of like street signs, just like, is that what you mean?
I think so.
Okay.
My bad is that I see them on occasion, but I don't visually remember what I saw.
Yeah.
I'll be specific, and I'm
Please do.
only calling it out because I think they're great. So it's not a
The
negative.
wayfinding or the traffic signs?
Oh, I don't like traffic signs.
Okay.
No,
Well,
I'm
I mean
I'm-
like the blade
I'm
sign,
kidding.
like, yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm talking about the blue signs,
Mhm.
right? So there are a couple of businesses that are just called out singularly, and because it's kind of obvious, and I don't want to have a hidden bias here, but Snoqualmie Falls Brewing has specific blue signs, which I find great, but they're not offered to everybody. So I'm just, is there something there I don't know about?
So just to clarify for people in the room, the signs, the wayfinding that are on the green poles,
Yeah.
I'm going to start there. The only things that are called out on those signs are what we consider anchors, like and museums, like Snow King is an anchor on the ridge and the depot is an anchor downtown, and then lodging for the hotel. So, and parks,
Right.
schools, but we're not on those signs. We're not calling out specific businesses. The sign you speak of, like with the brewery, that would be more along the lines. It's a wayfinding sign, but it's on its own pole with just one single blue blade. We do need to do a better audit of those. Our goal, I somehow they originated, that was before my time.
I got you.
I
got you.
do understand there's kind of, well, not kind of, there's not an equity in that. So we do need to audit those signs and they might need to come down. They also add to sign clutter. That can be an issue. There was 1 or 2 that I think have already been taken down because they were woefully out of date. Like it was promoting a restaurant that left even pre-COVID.
Mhm.
So as far as those signs, I need to sync up with Mona, our new community development director, and understand like what are her theories or how do we do that? And who gets to do that? Is there naming rights? Do people pay for that? I don't know. We need to dive into that, but I understand the question. I understand the lack of
Yeah,
equity.
my
Mhm.
root of the question isn't to challenge them as so
Yeah.
much as like if they're available for people to pay for or
Mhm.
donate or something is going on there, I'm not aware of it.
I'm not either, so we're gonna have to dig down about how that happened several years ago and what businesses were highlighted and
Yeah.
why.
And just so being new, that people understand, this is not me challenging what we're
I know.
doing or how we're doing. I think signs at times are great, but then there's the reverse of that, which is clutter, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I look at the businesses that are on the back side over here, not easily identified or seen. I get that too.
Backside of where you
I'm
are.
sorry,
or
on the
downtown?
backside of, I should know my geography.
On Falls.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, by the river. It's a way to point people that way, especially with a lot of the visitors we get with the train and et cetera. So I get the sense behind it. I
Yeah.
truly do. So that's where, therein lies my question. And
Yeah.
if it's not allowed and then there's an audit required or whatever, I can only tell you that being in the role that I'm in, I hear lots of questions about how do we get one of those signs so that my
Yeah.
business is called out.
I think we need to be reflective on where we've been at as a city and as a department, and going through COVID and different staff changes, we've been neglectful in that area. And the first step was getting those wayfinding signs done, which was a huge accomplishment and long overdue. So maybe, Mona and I can sync up and figure out where we're at in the city and where we're at with that policy and figure out how we can do better. Actually, if you don't have any other questions for me, I might pivot and let Mike Chambliss give an update about, he's gonna be so thrilled that I'm turning the mic
Oh,
over to him
that'd be
about
great.
WashDOT signage. So unless you guys have, oh, he's gonna hit me. Unless you guys have a question, any more questions for me? Okay, Mike, do you want to give a WashDOT update?
Sure. I have been in communication with WashDOT. I found somebody who would talk to me, which was a good start. Asked them to help me find the right person in WashDOT that I need to talk to, because there's going to be only one person that has the power to make this happen. He finally understood my request after 6 communications and gave me that person, and then she quit.
Oh, no.
So now he actually reached out to me to follow up once he realized that she had quit, and said, "Hey, did they ever get you the information?" And so we are now working again to try to find the right person. I do believe he's actually going to be at the next council meeting, and give a presentation. So we're still working it, but we did get the signs downtown done. I'm going to throw it back to you in the kiosk.
Oh, thank you. For a minute, I was,
Can-
yes. Oh,
Can I
yes,
just
Gary.
ask what,
Uh-huh.
what the issue is there though?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna let Mike say it because it's like a puzzle. Can you explain to Gary?
There's a request to put additional signage up on I-90.
Oh, okay.
So currently, we have a sign at the Parkway that says Falls this way, and we have a sign in North Bend that says Falls this way. But they skipped the 2 exits, the casino exit, and they also skip 90.
Okay,
Coming
so
this way,
it's to
so
call the falls out. so
We're just
people
trying
know.
to call out the falls.
Got it.
And also the downtown historic shopping district. The language already exists up there on signs. We just want them to add it to 2 particular signs.
Gotcha.
So shouldn't be a huge lift for them because it's already approved language.
Mm.
But I just got to find the right person and sign the check. So.
Gotcha.
That's the important. One of the things that came out of the roundtable that we did with the downtown merchants, and I think it was February this year, was that the kiosk on the boardwalk was not up to date. People would come into town, they were confused, there wasn't a directory. We heard the feedback, so it is installed now. On the right side, when you're on the boardwalk, there is a directory of the businesses. On the left side is a graphic or a map. It's actually a map that I've been using for a few years in the visitor guides and different things that is directing people to the Ridge and to the community at large. So the Ridge businesses aren't listed on the kiosk, but I'm directing people to Snow King and the different golf courses so that people know that there's a whole nother aspect of our community a few miles up the parkway. So that's in the kiosk that's been up for about maybe a month now.
Will we ever get a directory of Ridge businesses on that?
You know, we could. we kind of keep it focused because it says a historic downtown kiosk on there. But if there was, enough requests for it, I'm trying to figure out design wise how we could do that. Yeah, I could more update that.
It's, please.
It's not digital. It's a printed piece. There's power there. Fortunately, I mean, it's not something I'm going to be updating every single month when a business goes out, but it's something that the costs aren't too high. The piece is designed, so just to make a few edits won't be that expensive, and then to print it. But like if I'm aware of another business is coming, maybe I'll wait until different people are all settled. Like I already know there's going to be some changes downtown. I anticipate that there'll be some sort of an update this year, but for now, it's there.
I think I have an answer to your question. Just a little research. Apparently back in the day, like maybe 2016, businesses were able to rent the space on those poles for those signs and monthly invoices were sent. It doesn't look like we did a great job with that program because there's only 1 month's worth of invoices. So, I'm forwarding the information to these two to figure it all out.
Oh, interesting.
Mike?
Well,
You're a champ.
but there is an ordinance and there is a resolution already existing to make all that happen. So
Gotcha.
Good. Okay.
Thank
um,
you.
And thanks, Nicole, for your report. Next, we're moving on to new business, and we have a presentation on the Two Rivers Big Picture High School Internship Program. And Nicole, I think you're gonna introduce? Nicole, are you able to introduce?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. This is Christina Riley this is a long title, Two Rivers Big Picture High School Internship Program. And this request came from this commission last month. They wanted to know more about opportunities for students, youth in our community. Like if they weren't doing a traditional four-year college plan, it was piggybacked after the conversation of labor and how do we have employees that are homegrown to our community. Commuting in can be such a challenge. It all just kind of came from that. So Christina is here, and then next month, Michelle, is it Cheney from the school district. She does the CTE program, which I don't know what that acronym stands for.
Career and technical education.
She will be presenting to you guys in June.
I am being reminded to have everybody speak into the microphones, and with these microphones, the directional microphones, you got to be looking right down at it. It will not pick you up from the side.
We don't want to miss a single word.
For all the viewers at home.
Well, but it's not on recording.
Okay. Well, thank you, council, for having me. My name is Chrissy Riley, and I'm the internship coordinator at Two Rivers. I'm also a CTE teacher. Rob, you got the acronym perfect. Michelle's my boss, so I didn't know she was coming next month. She's one of my bosses. And thank you, Nicole, for having me. Nicole's been a big supporter of our program as well and has invited me up to the Ridge, the merchant meetings up there. So today I just wanted to share a little bit about our program. Just by a raise of hands, how many of you know about Two Rivers or have heard of the school? Okay, and then how many of you remember it as the alternative high school in the Valley? Okay, so about 6 or 7 years ago, they changed it to a big picture high school. And so that's why I'm here today is I want to just kind of share a quick overview of what the school is. And then I'm here to talk about the internship program. I run that program for the school. So I'm going to pass out first. We have a couple annuals, but I marked the pages that have pictures of our kids on internship. I always think, picture says 1,000 words.
If you stay at the mic and keep talking.
Is there a way to lift her mic? Because I hate to have her bending over the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have to speak right into it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear it.
Okay, so let's see. What's a Big Pictures High School? So basically, it's a regular high school, but with way more cool stuff. That's how I describe it. So the idea is Big Picture High School is all about real world experiences. It's student driven in the sense the students decides the things that they want to learn. Our schedule is pretty, I mean, it's not too complicated. Basically, in the morning, we still do academics. So in our school, you know, kids will go to LA, history, math, science, social studies, whatever. And then we have lunch. And then the afternoon is what I say are all the big picture-y stuff. That's when we do all the kind of extra things a big picture school does. We do internships, kids do clubs, they do project groups. Some of them, because we're on Mount Si's campus, may even go over to Mount Si and do a Mount Si class. So we have kids that do AP biology next door, or they take forensic science, or they do welding. Okay, but as far as internships are concerned, this is a chance for a student to learn more about the thing they're interested in. And so what this does is we have students, we take them through a boot camp when they come to us, and we do some professional development, and we find out what things they're interested in. And from there, we have them reach out to the community. And that's why I'm here today, for you guys being the community and help us spread the word. But students will reach out to community and they'll try to find somebody in that profession to connect with. So for example, if I have a kid that's interested in, maybe they want to be a doctor or an architect, they will have to reach out to somebody in the community. So that requires them learning how to navigate either through Google or LinkedIn or whatever they're going to use. They're going to do a phone call to that person, and this is something we practice in-house, and they're going to conduct a quick informational interview. They're going to try to land a shadow day, and after the shadow day, if it's a good fit for the host and the student, it may turn into an internship. That's the ultimate goal, is for the student to have an internship. So the reason we do internships is if a student wants to be a doctor, we're not doctors at school. No teachers are doctors. We can't teach a kid how to be a doctor, right? So that's why we try to hook them up with an expert. You guys are experts, the community's experts in all those things. So that's why we're trying to connect these students to that person. Okay, so here's some photos of some kids that have done shadow days and internships. The girl on the left, Ava, she's had a shadow day at the Snoqualmie Compound Pharmacy. She now has an internship there. She had to get her pharmaceutical technician certification. I may have that wrong. But she did have to get a certification online to do that. She's in high school. She loved chemistry. So she tried so hard for so long to try to find a thing in chemistry. She couldn't find it. She came to me one day and she's like, Chrissy, I got it. The pharmacy, they do chemistry. So that's her working away. And those ladies there are awesome. They're on point. I mean, they're boss ladies. They're awesome mentors for her. Okay, the middle picture is a kid. He came from Mount Si. He was at Mount Si and he said, you know, I like Mount Si, but I want to be able to dive into the thing I'm interested in. And he wanted to fix boats. He wanted to be a marine mechanic. Look, I'm not even an expert in this stuff, right? I don't speak this language. So he found a company in Issaquah that fixes boats. He got a shadow day there and then he got an internship. He graduated and he's now working for them as well. So those guys taught him at the yard there. I mean, this is a picture of him overhauling a motor. They're doing wiring, they're ripping out seats. He's in that world, right? He's learning that language, all that stuff. And the guys that work there love that kid. He's super smart. And they asked him to come work for him. And that's what he wanted to do. Two Rivers lent him that avenue. If you go to Mount Si, and nothing wrong with Mount Si, but you are in traditional high school, you're going to this class, this class, this class. You're doing homework. You're doing test, right? So Two Rivers allows you, in the morning, you're still doing academics. We got to do state testing and answer all that. But in the afternoons, we allow freedom for kids to explore the things we're interested in. We're there to guide them and help find that thing they're interested in. Okay, and then on the left, the top right-hand corner is Cataluna Rescue Ranch. You may have heard of that. That's one of our students interested in horses. And then the bottom right is Kaylee, a graduate. She was at the train forever. You guys might have seen her go through town. She's on the wood pile. I mean, she's a tiny little thing, just like killing it, doing all kinds of stuff. So those are some pictures and examples of kids on shadow days and internships. Okay, this was one of my favorite. This was years ago. We had a student that wanted to do graphic design. We went up to O'Brien Water Sports on the Ridge, and the student had a shadow day with a graphic design person. So they were sitting next to the artist or the graphic design person. And partway through the day, the worker's like, "Hey, I got this thing I got to do. We're sponsoring this wakeboarding guy. We're going to do a wakeboard for this person. And he just wants a samurai on it of some sort. So we're going to do two designs. You do yours, I'll do mine." So they both drew up something and said, "We'll send it to him and he can pick." They picked hers.
Huh.
That was really cool. Lots of talent in these kids. This is, these kids have interests and they just dive into it and they're just so good at what they're doing. So it's so important for us to be able to hook them up with somebody that actually does that thing, that can take them to the next level. Okay, so the really neat thing about not only having an internship is the host becomes your mentor. It's like networking. These are people they can lean on, through high school, even when they graduate. They can go back to them, use them as references. Two Rivers resumes are amazing when they get out of high school. I mean, it's things like you're working at a pharmacy, right? As a technician. I mean, we all had jobs in high school. We're working at like pizza places or I don't know, maybe pumping gas, whatever the thing it is we did. These kids are able to get in a higher level. The top right-hand corner is one of our graduates, Maddie. She worked at the Snoqualmie police station. And they were hard to get into, right? They weren't going to take anybody. She was probably the third or fourth kid that went up there. And that's what shadow days do. It's a chance for, the kid to test drive it and the host to test drive it. Maddie was a fit for them. And so she did 2 or 3 years up at the Snoqualmie police station. And it was really neat to see. Okay, so you might have seen some of our kids around town. Here's, you guys know Preston, Maine? Muriel, that was us. Went out there and helped paint and learned how to do that. So kids, these are our art kids. They're interested in doing this. And Sarah Hughes, right, that did the artwork there. She was a Two Rivers graduate, I believe. But she taught the kids how to do a large mural on a wall. And I went out and helped several times. If you've never done it, I didn't even know how the beginning to start this. It was a really cool process to be a part of. Okay, the other piece of big picture schools is kids have to do projects. So when kids go out on internships, for example, they have to do a project. So for example, if you're a kid and you're going to an architectural firm, maybe your mentor is doing, a model of a large city building. You may be doing that on a smaller scale. That could be a project. Or another project could be you're going into a business and you see something that's not running smoothly. And so you offer a solution to it. That's also a project. Or you can on your own mimic something that you're doing at the business. But the idea is kids are doing hands-on experiences with their mentors guiding them, learning from the experts out in the fields. And it's really cool to see some of these things that they're producing. Here's just a kind of inside look to what other things we do. This is the students down at the river. We do salmon raising, and then we release them in the Tolt River. We have clubs and groups. We do those in the afternoon. It's just a chance for students to get together with other students that have like-minded interests. We'll do site visits. You may recognize that's the Salish. That was pretty neat. We took a handful of students up there so they could get a tour of the resort up there and learn about the hospitality industry. This is a big piece. All of our students at Two Rivers are required to do exhibitions. We're going to have them next week. They're 45 minutes long to an hour. And it's no joke to have to stand up there in front of your peers, staff, your mentors, and give a presentation on what you've learned throughout the year. We do them twice a year. And so we're coming up to our last one for this year, our year-end presentation. But students will show evidence on things they've learned. They'll talk about their internships and projects. And that's it. That's our little drama. We put on a play every year. Those are the drama kids. And that's kind of the overview of the internship process. Again, the reason I'm here is we're growing school and we need the community to run this program. If we don't have the support of the community, then we're just like dead in the water. And I can tell you, we have several businesses and organizations we've tried to get through. We're having a hard time breaking through. But I wanted to come here today from the city. We have students that are interested in the city itself in different departments. If you as council members or personally know somebody that you think would make a great host, or if you are just like, hey, Chrissy, if you need anything, if you have a kid interested in this, let me know. We've had over almost 500 people in the Valley participate in the program, but we're always looking for more volunteers with it.
Chrissy, do you have like a directory of businesses who have agreed to?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have internally in-house, we use a program. It's got a weird name. It's called Emblaze. It's nothing you guys would need to remember, but it's what we and the students use. And that's a place that holds all of the businesses that we've either reached out to or that we might think might be a good spot. We also have to background check everybody. So we have a list of everybody that's completed the background check that's hosted. So we do have that. And a lot of times kids will go back to that. Like in September, they'll pull up that list and be like, oh, I'm looking for a vet place. And they'll be like, oh, this place will do it. And they'll contact somebody up there. But we're trying to grow this. That's, it's just, there's so many places we haven't even touched.
Can you talk a little bit about demographics? I remember my brother I own a plumbing company with my brothers, and my brother went to the trade school because he wasn't going to go to college. And it always had a bad connotation.
Yeah.
It was always like,
Two Rivers?
no, I grew up on the East Coast. It was a different school, but like that type of school, I think you called it the alternative school back in the day. It always had like a negative connotation where I grew up.
Yes.
What's the demographics from like boys to girls? Is it mostly boys that go to the school? What drives kids to go to the school? How many kids? How are you guys funded? Is it through the Snoqualmie School District? So some of those demographic information and like how many kids end up going to college after going to Two Rivers, I guess. Is it very different? Yeah.
So I'll just speak about us being a big picture high school because it attracted different students. I was at Two Rivers when it was the alternative high school, and that was a different demographic of students. There was over 100 kids. That demographic was different. Now that it's a big picture high school, we have about 60 kids, so 20 per grade. I would say it's evenly split male, female, but the kids that we tend to attract are like the kid that wanted to do the boat, like work on the boats. He specifically came over so he could spend his last 2 years in high school in the afternoons going out to do what he wants to do. So we'll get kids like that that are already driven in their mind what it is they want to do. And then we'll also get kids, honestly, that don't want to do mainstream high school. Either Mount Si's too big or they just don't want to do it. They're teenagers. Some of them maybe there's just a reason, maybe friendship stuff isn't working out there. But a lot of them come over there so they can have the freedom in the afternoon to explore the thing they want to do. The one thing I do want to say about the internships, which I didn't mention, is it's really neat because our kids don't have to pick something career-minded. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? So let's find you that thing. We have kids that, I had a kid that wanted to learn how to weld because he works on cars. He works on his cars, right? So he did that for one of his years just to learn how to weld. He wanted to learn that skill, or baking. But back to the demographics, our senior year that we have 13 students, 11 are graduating. And I think we have about 3 or 4 that are signed up. Sorry, we have 4 that are signed up to go on to college, and then 2 that are like, maybe. So, and we have kids that have gone to Western, Central, and then we have a lot of kids that'll do tech schools as well.
Which makes sense. How are you guys funded? Is it a
It's
public
Snoqual-
school?
Yes.
Through the school district? You're
Yep,
part of the school
Yep.
district?
So if you go to Snoqualmie Valley School District's website, it'll pop down the schools and we're right there.
Okay. Like I see this, like the kids riding bikes are out in the field and
Yeah.
not sitting in a classroom.
No.
Doing.
We'll get like boys, so we'll get boys that are like, I call them our feral boys, right? They just want to be outside.
Yeah.
They want to be outside getting dirty. That's the thing they're interested in. And then we've got so many kids that are just like hands-on, smart mechanically. Like they don't do good sitting in a classroom taking tests and books.
What's stopping so many kids from doing? I mean, I see this and it looks like
I
a lot more fun than traditional high
Right?
school.
Did you guys
What
catch it?
stops kids from doing this? Is it kind of just like the fear of not following the traditional route, or?
I think some of it comes from parents' fear that they won't get into college, which is not true. That's not true at all. A lot of colleges we visit know about big picture schools and this like, we're in this new era where there's like this alternative learning way. You don't have to go mainstream high school. So parents in one might get scared their kid can't get in college. Honestly, there's a reputation around Two Rivers, the name of it being the alternative school in the valley. There was nothing wrong with it before,
It's just
but
a
I think
connotation.
like you had said, there's like this thing that attaches to it. I have friends and we have tons of community members that went to Two Rivers that are awesome people. Um, which the school before it was great too, but I think there's a negative. Some people have that, not everybody. And then some people just don't know about it. Maybe what exactly it is.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
First of all, a couple questions. Are these internships paid internships? And next, what is a typical internship term or time frame? And are these opportunities available just during the school year, or are there summer opportunities as well?
That's a great question. They can't be paid at all. So no pay. We do them Mondays and Wednesdays from 12 to 3-ish. We have kids that go out on different days and different times. But I say that because we've had kids like at a retail store in North Bend. The kid went from 12 to 3, but they liked her, so they hired her from 3 to 5 and on weekends. That's okay. Just the time that the student is earning internship hours, they can't get paid. And they can work during the summer. We have students that will continue their internship through the summer. But we as a school, I always tell the kids, I'm like, you're not required to do summer nor breaks. And so when they come back in the fall, they're going to log those hours per se as like volunteer hours. But really it's just during the school year and during the school day. Did I miss one of those?
No, that's good. So if we wanted to get this information out
Yeah.
to the business community, like, do you have
Yes.
this kind of written down,
Yes.
like what the criteria is,
Yes.
what the program looks like?
Yes. I have a link I can send you as well. I can send it to Nicole and she can send it out. And then I also have some flyers if you want some with my business card as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you reaching out now?
This, doing this. The kids are existing internships, the chamber meeting. Rob's hosting a handful of our kids. They're going to be at the next chamber meeting. Nicole inviting me up to the ridge, the businesses, the word of mouth. So it's just really, this is like, I mean, when we started, I was literally knocking on doors, walking down, just like hitting the streets.
So you were actually going business to
Oh,
B2B is a common term used, but you're going directly to businesses?
Yeah, I do that at
Now you're
times.
busy.
Now I'm
Yeah,
busier,
I get
they've
it.
grown.
I
But
get
at first it was like that, just like kind of using networks in-house that other teachers know, that we know, but literally just walking down Main Street, and just popping and introducing, hey, would you be interested in hosting a student? And like I said, it's such a cool thing to watch when you see a kid really connect with a business or a thing they're interested in. It just like lights them up.
Oh, it's huge. I think I don't want to get on a rhetorical bandwagon here, but I think you're on the precipice of something that's just waving across the country.
Yeah.
It's just different. I mean, you're using the architecture you have today, which is the school system, et cetera, which I'm not faulting. You've got to. But at the end of the day, you don't have to watch a lot of news to see what's happening on the vocational side. Nick's going to know more about it than even I do because he's in the middle of it. But vocations are sort of like the new college, if you will. I mean, when I was growing up in the 70s, college was everything.
Right.
If most everybody in here probably remembers your textbooks, you remember you got those book covers? They said, if you don't go to college, you're going to make this much. If you go to college, you're going to make that much. It's been turned on its ear. And I can speak a little bit from experience. My brother started a company in Montana, became one of the largest construction companies in the United States. He was totally in the category of student you just described.
Yeah.
He did go to college, dropped out,
Yeah.
but he said, I want to do things with my hands. It's golden. And I think it's even more golden today because of what's happening, especially with how our politics are transforming in the country. So I think you're on a great place to be. I think this council is probably perfect for you because you've got business people. You know, Nick's a trades guy. I know a lot about plumbing. Don't do much of it anymore, but I do know a lot about it. And it's, and then of course there's the infrastructure you have to contend with. But I personally think that you've got to get more businesses involved. At the end of the day, is going to be where your success
Yeah.
lands with contract. No one's approached my company. I don't know, we're a manufacturer, even though everybody thinks of us as a place to come and have a beer, which is what we are, but we're a manufacturer first. We're heavy science. We're heavy, I can expose kids to farming, agricultural, hop farms, wheat farms, doing pH tests, doing all kinds of things. I can go from, you know, growing things all the way up to the scientific aspect of how you make a product. I'm not saying I have a place for a student right now, but this is fascinating. I think it's a really cool idea, but I think you've got to leverage the business contact. And my next question really, and I'll leave you alone, but is this Valley oriented only? Where does it cover? I don't even know.
Anywhere a kid can get to. It's up to the student to get to and from. So
Where do the students come from?
they're in the Valley. These are Valley kids because they go.
Snoqualmie Valley School District. Sorry, I'm not as familiar with the school district here.
Yeah, so we've had kids go to Seattle, Bellevue, but the majority of the students, because
Gotcha.
they go here, they just are local.
I got you.
And when I say local, I'm like maybe Carnation all the way up to like,
Well, the
did you
school
say?
district is from Snoqualmie Pass to parts of unincorporated King County and Redmond. So you've got kids, Redmond, Fall City, North Bend, Snoqualmie, the Pass.
So you're
like-
drawing from a pretty good base of.
and they can go anywhere they want as long as they can get to and from. That's just the only thing. It's up to them and parents or whoever's going to do it.
They've got to be able to get around.
They got to be able to get around.
Yeah.
So they do the Metro and SVT, the ones that don't drive or the ones that drive, they'll take themselves to and from. But thank you for your voice in that because you've hit the nail on the head. It's been, I mean, you're seeing me now for the first, it's been 7 years, 6, 7 years of literally just knocking on doors. And I'll tell you the thing I get the most is they got to be 18. And so we're learning from other schools that, yeah, that's kind of the first thing that'll come out. Like you got to be 18. And when we dive deep into these like businesses and stuff, we're finding and no fault to them. They've just always heard that. And it's like, oh, wait, no, we don't have to be 18. Maybe it's 16 is really what it is.
Yeah.
So I urge the businesses out there, if you're willing to host a kid, just like, you know, really take these restraints off if you can and just like test, you know, like have a kid come in just even for a couple shadow days because for them, it's life changing and the trades is huge. I mean, like you said it perfect. Even when I was in high school, you know, you go to college, right? I mean, these guys doing HVAC and plumbing, they're killing it. And the kids that are coming out of our school, I mean, I've had a handful of times I've broke something at school and I've had to have a kid fix it for me. I'm like, I don't even know how to do this.
Sure.
Will you come fix this? So they don't like sitting in class. They want to learn outside the classroom. They're looking out the window and they're good at what they do. And so we want to encourage that.
Can I ask you what industry, if any, or that you're maybe struggling to match kids with?
I have a hard time breaking into anything with gaming is hard.
Gaming as in
Like video
Computer?
development?
And then anything with the hospital, although they just opened it up. They just opened it.
Yes.
So
they
I'm
did.
not trying to bash them, but they just opened it. But that was really
But specifically at the hospital?
anything-
medical?
It was just the 18, but they opened it up to 16.
Well, that's Snoqualmie Valley Hospital, but what about like Overlake and Swedish? Or was there any inroads in there or were all hospitals kind of limiting with the?
We had really just checked, the ones that were asking at this time were the ones that couldn't drive there. So we were just starting here with the local ones. But we have had kids reach out. It's just hard. You know, those are the 18, I don't even want to name businesses. 'Cause there's some businesses here in the area that have said 18, you know, and it's just like,
Some of it's safety issues, right? Like I'm thinking about a 16-year-old showing up to a shop
yeah,
at my place and,
Sure.
you know, they don't know what they don't know and they touch something, they electrocute themselves or
yeah.
flood someone's home.
Oh, I got a girl that wants to be an electrician so bad. I mean, it's just like, I got to get her somewhere.
Some of
She's
it's safety,
good.
right?
Yeah.
And you have minimal hours somewhere, it's hard to train that person fast enough to be safe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be open to it at our plumbing shop. I don't know if Nicole's on the line. I'm sure Nicole, though, if it was allowed, my wife would be open to it at the hospital. My wife's a primary care provider there,
I love it.
or be open to something up there.
Hey, I'm
but
on the
I-
line.
Yeah.
So we actually, yeah, we talked with our insurance company late last year, and now we have job shadows and things open to students. And if they're gonna spend any length of time with us, they'll have to do a couple extra, things like a drug test or show their titers for certain sorry, my kid's yelling at me. I'm trying to get him on the bus. Certain immunizations and things like that. But we're really looking forward to expanding our programs and having more people come in and supporting students. Dr. Hicks, one of our internal med docs, has recently taken 3 students on over spring break. So we're just looking to do more of that.
Yeah, I love that.
So Chrissy, what's the best way we can help besides just talking it up?
Can I just say one thing to that, Paula? And this is a recorded meeting. This will be on the city's Facebook page, or not Facebook, city's website, YouTube. So the beauty of that is you can use this, Christina. You can send this link to other people. Like, here's your shtick, right? Here's your presentation. And same with you guys. If you have other people within your businesses, you're like, here, I heard this presentation. Take 20 minutes and listen. Just know that's out there on our website. I think that's a good way to keep spreading the message.
Yeah, just honestly, I'm in debt to you all for letting me come today and share out this program. It's a big deal for our students. So one way, just letting me, share out again. And then if you have somebody or you own a business or you're open to the idea, and you don't have to commit to it. If you send me an email, I'm not going to be like, oh, on you, like, come on, come on, come on. I promise I won't harass you. If you're kind of interested, remember, we always start with a shadow day. So it's a real low level, maybe an hour or 2 day, just for the kid to see like the thing you do. And then you can also see if the kid would be a good fit. But you can email me, reach out to me directly. And that can be as easy as, I might not have anything right now, but I'm still open to this. Keep me on your list, or check back in with me. Or maybe you're like, hey, I think we've got a spot. We could take a kid for a couple hours a week.
And how many weeks is the program? So you said Monday and Wednesday, 12 to 3.
So we,
For how
yeah.
many?
It can last, an internship can last half a year or the whole year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Is it just 2 days a week?
We normally it's 2 days a week. We do have some students that go 1 day a week because we'll be at the mercy of whatever somebody can offer. That's okay.
Got
But an internship normally lasts half a year or the whole year. So some kids will do like something fun. Like, I just want to learn how to bake, let's say. I don't want to be a baker, but they'll do a baking internship the first half of the year. And then the second half, they're like, oh, I maybe want to be a preschool teacher. So they'll do a preschool internship, which I can say this program does a really other cool thing. It tells you what you don't want to do. Because I had a student that came and she wanted to do preschool or kindergarten, and she came back. She was like, Chrissy, I don't want to do that little kids. And I'm like, perfect. Because imagine like us, we go through college, right? And you major in something, and then you come out and you're like, I don't even like this thing. So they're able to decide what they don't like. Or a girl she wanted to be a hairdresser. She did an internship. I thought this was very insightful. She came back and she said, I don't want to do this because she doesn't like to do small talk. Like, she doesn't like that. It makes her uncomfortable. And so by doing this internship, she realized how a lot of it was just chatting with the customer, your client, So she was able to rule that out off her list.
That's great.
Do you find organizations are more than happy to let people shadow? I know it's not the same thing as an internship, but shadowing is something I think it goes on all the time.
I
Are you
think so.
experiencing that with your,
I do think
kids?
it's a little bit easier for
Yeah.
a shadow because it's such a low level ask.
right?
For us. And so the only thing required of the business is when a new business comes to me or a student finds a business, I'll go do a site check. So I'll just make sure it's the thing it's supposed to be, like, oh yeah, they said they're a farm. It's a farm.
Mhm.
And then we do, the host has to go on the district's website and fill out the volunteer form, which is, they'll do a background check on, which is all volunteers have to do it. And then that's it.
Hmm.
Yeah. But shadow days seem to be easier. They're pretty,
One recommendation, you may be doing it, I don't know, but there's so much literature out right now and media out right now about this concept, not so much through the school itself, but through, getting, I'll say kids, even young adults, frankly, 24-year-olds that have a college degree and still can't find a job, is like orienting them towards what we traditionally called vocations, right? There's a lot of literature out there right now just because of what's happening. The economy is changing. And with this migration, who knows how successful it will be, but if manufacturing truly comes back, you talk about welders and plumbers and electricians, and there aren't enough
No.
in this country to do what needs to be done. And as Nick knows, and I know many people in this room know, you can make a very nice living in the vocations and the trades. And you have freedoms that oftentimes aren't really readily obvious to people. And it's a great place to be right now, I think, and these kids are at the perfect spot.
I think so too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're coming up, it's springtime, right? So we have seniors that are getting ready to graduate. The other thing I'll just say real quick is, I always tell the students, like, you're able to get in at a higher level in a company when we come in through school as an internship, right? You're just able to do that. Like the student that was able to sit with a graphic design artist, that student was like 15 or 16 at the time. No way would they ever be able to have that spot just coming in, off the street. So it's a great program in that when they do graduate, they've already had this level in the company. They've had this many years of experience. And so it's just a chance for them to go right into the workforce in the thing that they want to do. And it's just a great transition for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will help keep them in the workforce in the valley.
Yeah. And the businesses really have kind of an advantage too, because they've already trained up this kid, or this person who, like they're 18 and they're on the payroll, right? And they've come in, they've already trained up and they know that they like this student or this person, this worker.
Do you have like a career day?
We just join in on Mount Si's Career Day. We often will have guest speakers come in.
Okay.
So if you want to come in and do a guest.
Yeah, I
speaker,
mean,
tip you.
I'll just say I have 4 guys that are 21 and under,
Okay.
and in 4 sequential years, it's a Mount Si graduate. So 4 guys that have lived here, graduating high school every year. The highest paid one is making well over $30 an hour on his way to become a licensed plumber. The 18-year-old with a 401k match already, while his counterparts are in
See?
college incurring tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and he's well on his way, already saving for retirement and stuff like that. So we love pulling, those are the hardest working people we have on our team too, are the high school graduates
Okay, cool.
that are fresh out of high school, want to prove themselves, have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and an ego. And it's been fantastic for us. And every year I think we want to hire another graduate. So more than happy to
Okay.
come to the Mount Si Career Day, and do that sort of thing.
We
We'll
all,
partner.
like at Two Rivers, we'll have guest speakers come in all the time too. So I would love to have you for next year. Just come in and share the industry, and then the kids can ask you questions, things like that. But also at Career Day, we go over to Mount Si and join in on that. We walk our kids through.
Is that the one that's on 5/28? Is that next week? Because I think we have a table
But
there.
we already had it this year. Michelle would be able to answer that better. She's coming next week, I think. Is that what you said? We don't have.
In June, I think the event on the 28th, is that maybe a presentation of kids in the CTE program or a luncheon or something?
It's a luncheon. I just gotta,
They'll periodically have different, like fields of work come in specific, but we had our career day, I think it was back in February or March, like where like we set up all the tables and like the city of Snoqualmie was there but Mount Si is always doing things as well. And I can send you the link to the Career Center at Mount Si. They're a great resource too. They're always listing the guest speakers and things that are, people that are coming at lunchtime or.
yeah, that's what we were invited to. So I think
Okay,
What's the
okay.
We're
name
doing
of the school?
5/28.
Twin Rivers, I'm sorry,
Two Rivers.
sorry, Two Rivers.
Yep.
Is the word alternative school in there?
No, they got rid of that. So
Good.
now it's just a big picture high school and you can Google big picture high schools. They're all over the world. There's
What's
a
the
bunch
concept?
here.
It's not just your name.
It's just not our name. The closest one is a quad. They have it's called Gibson Eck. They're a big picture school. Bellevue,
Oh.
big picture school. There's Eastern Wash. They're all over the place. So it's a concept. The guys who started it decided that the best way to learn is outside the classroom walls.
Yeah.
And so the idea was to get kids out there matched up with things they wanted to learn about, experts.
So do you have a flyer or something that
I'll
has
pass out a
contact
flyer.
information?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, I can do that. I have flyers and all kinds of information.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thank
I
you.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome.
It's interesting. Alternative school, I think has a
All right.
negative.
Well, hopefully we can get the word out for you.
Yeah. Washington's a-
So next, we're moving
Beautiful.
on to our business visits discussion and a review of the questions. And I think, Mona, you're going to lead this discussion?
Sorry, I was
I
we,
might
sorry, we
actually
run
turn this one over to Nicole, and only because she's got some background on it that I'm
distracting
just
me.
not aware of.
This is the business visit,
okay.
correct? Sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
this is on business.
Well, this is
visit.
actually good. We're kind of like Pat and Vanna here, right? We'll just tag team here because you go back way back. So the business visit program, just as a little recap, was probably 2015, 2016. And there were questions, and the EDC members would go out and take a handful of businesses and meet with the businesses. The idea being that business owners are often more open to sharing information with a fellow community member versus a staff or perhaps an elected official. Then that information was given back to staff, and then a report was made up of the things that we found out. It was very helpful, very good information. So then COVID happened, different things happened. 2 years ago, the commission formulated these questions, and there were a few of you that did your due diligence, and you went out and you met with some businesses, and the process was it was dropped honestly by staff. I will admit that we didn't follow up with you guys and get that information back and create this report of what we found out. So last year, this commission focused on the business roundtables. Now this year, we're pivoting, and now we're going to go back to the business visits. Councilmember Watton and the mayor, they still feel that this program, these ongoing conversations that we can have with business owners in Snoqualmie is valuable. It's not just roundtables. Now we can dive in a little bit more specifically with individual businesses. So we've brought to you today the questionnaire. We heard some feedback from you last month that this is a lot of questions. Those of you that had done this in 2023, it was just a lot. So I think the goal today is to whittle these questions down. I can't count that. That must be 10 or 12, maybe 5 or 6 questions, and see what's important. What do you want to know? And then maybe if we leave here today, if they're, what were we thinking, Mona, with timeline of like send everybody off, meet with people, and what was our timeline of doing that and then recapping it?
I think we were hoping that we could get feedback by the next meeting. So weren't we? So that we.
That seems a little ambitious. I was wondering, I can't remember if we were thinking take a couple of months and do that, and then
These
and then
questions?
looking at the calendar of the year, like we know we wouldn't meet in December. I think August we kind of take off, so that leaves maybe June, July, August doing some questions, and then maybe in the fall, kind of like back to school time, come in and see. What do you think about that, Councilmember Watton?
Give you a little bit of feedback
Okay.
here. No, but it's all wonderful. First of all, when we've done this before, it's like every commissioner would take 2 or 3 businesses. So at the end of the day, we had maybe 17 businesses that were totally interviewed. The problem is for Director Davis and her staff of herself is compiling all that information. And what I would recommend is that this body decide, okay, we're going to narrow it down to about 6 questions and maybe 1 open-ended, maybe 2 open-ended. Tell me a little bit more. We can put it into a Google form. That will save an enormous amount of time because it was all over the board before. And Mark Hoffman did an amazing job, but it just takes way too much staff time. And the idea of the roundtable was once we collected all this, it would be great to have people come in and share a little bit more. And that kind of gave you a guide. That was the idea. We never got to that until just recently, the roundtable idea. So just if you can keep that in mind, as far as the timeline, what I'd like to see and hope that we can do in the next, 20 minutes or whatever, go through these and say, okay, let's highlight the questions that resonate with me as a business owner, as a business manager, and then be able to put that together. So then you have a much shortened version that we can put in a Google form or whatever you want to use for that. And then spend 2 to 3 months going out and doing 2 to 3 interviews. That's not overreaching. And there might be overachievers that do 4 or 5 of these just because they're easier to do. But here's the other thing is it gives you a chance to meet some other businesses, maybe one that you'd like to know more about. Maybe it's some collaboration that you have for your own business. So I guess that's the upside to it is I don't want it to seem like a chore, but it's an opportunity for you to reach out to somebody that maybe you've wanted to meet too.
And I think you guys are very well connected in the community and can probably come up with your own little short list of who you want to talk to. But if for some reason you're living under a rock and you don't know anybody, let me know and I can, pair you up with a few different businesses. So I think come up with the questions today, then we can formalize them. We'll have them in our next meeting. But in the meantime, head on out. And maybe for sake of to avoid redundancy, like if you've picked your businesses, let Mona and I know, and we can keep a list so that so someone's not going to the same person, so that we're getting unique visits.
Well, and then my understanding is that we would take our information that we gather from talking to businesses combined with what we learned at the round tables and dive deeper into some of those main topics. Is that kind of where we're headed?
I think it's just continuing to have that open door of communication from the different business owners that might not be as connected to the city like you guys are. Maybe
Okay.
they're feeling really alone out there and they don't understand how things work or they have issues. So you're kind of bridging that gap with the business owners to us. Just like things that we learned in the roundtable, we were able to implement.
Gotcha.
Wayfinding signage, kiosk, colors. Maybe at the end of the meeting, Mona can give an update on that. Like I think we're quite proud of the work that we've done with the business owners in the last few months and how we've been able to listen and hear, and then implement change. So, and life is always evolving, right? Things are changing all the time for different business owners. Issues that they had last year may not be the issues that they have this year. So yeah, just get that information. We'll take it as a group. We'll all take it back as a commission and staff. And maybe there's things that we're like, wow, we didn't know about that. Or, okay, we've heard that. We're dealing with it. This is the attempt that we're trying to make to resolve this.
Okay.
Do you want me to do a Google Forms right now in real time and we go through this? Is that,
If you have that skill set, go to
Okay.
town. Yeah.
all right, I got Google Forms.
He said
up.
Google Forms and I'm like, what? I like Word.
Like,
So
I'm not sure
you-
what that is either.
Yeah.
want to pull up the questions and then
Yeah,
kind
can
of,
we put the questions up there?
Is there any way you can share that, Andrew? Can you share yours? Or no, you don't?
They're
It's in the packet.
in the packet.
material.
On page,
Nicole,
Page.
just for my edification, can somebody just reiterate what the purpose of this survey is?
What would you say? Just
That's a great question. No, I think it's really important to help the council, to help the Economic Development Committee realize what are the priorities to the businesses and how can we support you best? Because we rely on staff. We rely on staff bringing us information, and we're policy setters. So it's not like we go out and become innovative. That's where you guys come in. You bring your ideas forward, and it's just a way for us to set our priorities. And when I joined 2014 of this commission, we had a list of 10 top 10 things that we proceeded forward in. So this helps to formulate whatever it is that are your priorities.
Thank you.
And the last thing is we're from the government and we're here to help you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, for pulling those up. I went through this list of questions and I thought they were all really good. So I don't know how we narrow it down to 6, but and maybe we don't need to.
I mean, the first 2 are just kind of token, right? You're
Yeah.
going to ask that. And then the last one could be just a closer. So, again, we did this in 2023. Maybe things have changed or maybe things have gotten worse. Commuting, I think, has actually gotten worse. And it's going to stay worse for a while, depending on your route into town.
Only 10 years.
So can you scroll up? Sorry, mine. So I'll put name, name of company, name, position and company. I'll say
The short history.
maybe are you based in Snoqualmie?
They would
Like
be
your
like-
headquarters, or is that just imply? I don't know if it's implied though.
Do you have other locations?
So do you have any locations outside Snoqualmie? How many employees do you have based in Snoqualmie, perhaps?
Like
That
total versus
question is
install.
on here. The second to the last bullet covers that question.
Yeah, he's putting it into the form.
Oh, I see.
I'm just kind of, yeah,
You're
I'm scanning
building the
this.
Google
I'm trying to
form.
take like the paragraphs out except for maybe like one or two. Like, I don't know if we want a short history of the company.
I don't know that we need a short history, but we need, I think, number of employees is good and
How
What
long
industry-
as long they've
wanna
been
know
in
what industry.
business.
What industry would you describe yourself in?
Hmm.
Too lazy to make multiple choice. And then somebody had a good one. What year did you open or move to Snoqualmie?
Yeah. Opening date of business.
Did you open or move to Snoqualmie?
One question that I really like is the what keeps you in Snoqualmie? Because I think that could be a good selling point if we find out that there's something special that people really like about doing business in Snoqualmie. That could be a selling point when we're trying to recruit additional businesses.
I don't, no offense to the council, but I don't think we need to ask about interactions with the city staff because that's not where we're headed with this.
I would say, do you have trouble navigating the city of Snoqualmie? I have a very easy time. I went to Sammamish and I never had such a difficult time in a small town. Seattle, yeah, it's a given. But what I love about operating personally in a small town, I can walk in City Hall and talk to John Cooper, whoever I need to talk to, Nicole, if I need to. I can get a hold of someone on council. So maybe like what challenges do you have operating with the city or pain points or
Well,
something around that?
maybe a combination of what does the city do well and what
It-
challenges. with
My
the
only,
city
my
are.
only reaction to that is you're drifting into issues around the city as opposed to issues around businesses.
Yeah.
I get it that that can be a business issue, but you're traveling down that slippery slope of, this council this, the mayor that, the staff this, you know what I mean? It's,
Well,
I don't know if you want to do, I mean, I'm not saying you can't. I think it has value, but you're slippery sloping down that when you start asking about how's your navigation capability inside the city.
But I think that's something that the city can take and actually fix or implement
That goes
versus.
back to the purpose though. That's why I
Yeah.
asked, if we're staying true to purpose, you're trying to get business, you could ask, how would you rate or how do you feel about working with city officials or something? I suppose maybe there's a way to word that.
Yeah.
Well, I
I'm just-
think
I'm just
that-
saying, it's a slippery slope.
I
Yeah.
think that where the way that question is worded on there, what do they do well to support your business and
Perhaps, yeah.
how do you, in terms of business, how are you able to navigate? How are you able to navigate business dealings with the city?
I'm not against it being on there. I'm not, I didn't want to voice it in that.
No, but
regard,
that's a
I
good,
just, you want to be careful. It doesn't become the city this, the city that. the
because we
city
want to
this.
keep it,
It
you
kind
know,
of takes away from really
business.
what you're trying to.
There is
Yeah.
another option for a way to capture the kind of like a temp check of the general sentiment of the feeling behind that question without asking for long, lengthy comments or feedback. You could do a scale, a rating scale for that question. How easy is it to do business in Snoqualmie or something along those lines?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's gonna leave it open as to what they're referring to.
Right. And then they say two, and then I would say, well,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's the reason I use the term slippery slope. I
Yeah.
think I see value and I see the slides.
In looking at these questions, I think there's a couple categories. It's like, one is transportation and commuting. How does that affect businesses? And then why here? Why did you pick Snoqualmie? Why here? Will you stay here? Those are just some common themes that are kind of wrapped into a couple different questions.
The other one that I'm curious about, and that is, how easy is it for you to find employees? And is there anything that we can do to help that? But I'm going to give that nugget to you to figure, okay, should that be in this or not?
And I think, Gary, in regards to your comments, I think it's true, but I think that's up to those of us
Oh, totally.
talking to the businesses to keep it on track for business
Sure.
as opposed to getting into
Like-
other city
Like the
politics.
dissection of the city.
Yeah.
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 Maybe I missed the purpose of this.
Well, what I gleaned, and I'll just, so I heard it correctly, I heard the purpose of the survey is to find out what our businesses, what are their top, I'll simplify it. What's my top three? What are my big kahuna issues? Whether it's finding employees or whatever, we want to let them kind of drift into the space. If we start asking all the pointed questions, you're kind of directing them. That's,
Yes.
listen, I did surveys in a different life. I was kind of, I know where you can get really slippery here. You can get slippery though. Sometimes there's a purpose. Let's not define it. Let's let them go wherever they go. If that's the purpose, that's fine too.
Do you, when you say I love when you say top three, my top three issues, the city can do absolutely nothing to help me with my top three issues.
That's important for the city to know, probably.
Right. So that's where if
Yeah,
I tell you my issues are tariffs, well, Rob can't do much about
I hear you.
lobbying about tariffs. So I wonder, would you, I guess, is the outcome of this survey stuff the city can do, or just the city knows what people's issues are, whether or not they can help?
Well, I think the other piece is we can be advocates too. We could help push policies up to whether it's the county, the state, the port, whatever. And we had that before. It was kind of an interesting thing. Nobody knew that the Port of Seattle and the Port of Tacoma forged this partnership, and all of a sudden the cargo shipments that went to Seattle were ending up in Tacoma. Well, where did all that transportation go? It went over 18.
That's right.
And that was back in 2017. It was in December. And we brought the port in for the first time, and we started having conversations around, how can we be better partners? So back to the tariff thing, it may be a federal issue, but it impacts us locally. Can we help elevate those things? And that part we can.
That's helpful. Like gas tax is in my top, going up again. That's, challenging for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Constantly going up. Okay, well, that's helpful. So I like the question, what are your top, maybe,
It's surveys, you can just go down a rabbit
Yeah.
hole. We all know that. It's like, I don't want to, I'm not even gonna call out businesses because I don't know the names of a lot of them. But if I'm a smaller blank,
Industry.
my issues are probably people. Tariffs, clearly, because you're buying a lot of stuff that you're importing, clearly an issue. I think getting people to identify their top concerns. I think we also have to, this is gonna be an interview, so you get the opportunity to say, well, how, when, where can the city help you? And yes, the city is one of the many city voices in a state or a county, therefore don't lose sight of that component either. That's part of us as interviewers and kind of calling that out if they're stuck on, well, I don't know. It's like Nick, if I was interviewing Nick and he said, my biggest problem is tariffs, I say, well, okay. Probably kind of a federal issue right now for the most part, but at the same time, if the states aren't voicing concerns, it's not happening. The word's not getting out that it's an issue. I think it is, everybody knows it is an issue, but you get where I'm going with that. Sorry, I think I lost my core point there.
here,
There's a lot on my mind about this because
I'll read back the flow of what I've written down and then maybe go from there. So company name, what's your name, position in the company? Do you have any locations outside of Snoqualmie? What industry would you describe yourself in? What year did you open or move to Snoqualmie? What keeps you in Snoqualmie? How many employees do you have based in Snoqualmie? And then I said, what are your top 2 or 3 concerns as a business owner leader? And then what could your local government leaders do to help your business with those concerns? Or maybe I just say in general.
I kind of like that. To me, I can take that, combine it with this list of questions and have a conversation with a business. I don't know that we need to write down every question that I'm going to ask
Yeah.
because it's a conversation.
It's a conversation.
So
Here's one more, and that is give us the barometer, the economic barometer, because people on the front lines, you're far better than the best economists out there. Are we headed for your business? Are we headed in the right direction? Are there, are there kind of
Are you asking the business that
external-
question, or are you, when
the
you say we?
businesses, the businesses?
Oh, is the business headed in the right?
Well, no, I'm thinking, in your realm, how do you see the economic outlook as it relates to your business? And be able to put it in a kind of a more generalized format, but to kind of enlist.
I'm
a little bit-
smiling, sorry,
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm smiling only because business people are, when they start answering questions like that, it's gonna be very biased, it's gonna be very selfish, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Because we have to worry about what we have to worry about. But it's, I don't know too many, like, it's so good, I can't stand it. You're not gonna get answers like that.
Can I
And
reframe
guarantee
it?
you- I guarantee, sorry, I guarantee you, I have friends in businesses, it is so good, they can't stand it. But if you think they're gonna let you know that,
Mhm,
it's not gonna happen.
mhm.
Because it brings on other issues, which is, well, if it's so good, maybe we're not doing enough that's making it a little less good. You understand where I'm coming from. There's a lot of
I'm-
positioning that goes on, sorry.
I might reframe it. Rob, I like that question because I sleep with like one eye open. Things are good and we're growing, but you never know. I would say something along the lines of, do you plan on growing your business in the next 12 months, or do you foresee your business growing in the next 12 months? How do you feel about that?
It's a tough question. I'm not sure I know the right way to phrase that, to be honest with you, because I think there's so many different, I think about who's gonna be answering it as much as what's the question?
There was a question on the list that was, what are your long-term plans? I think that would encapsulate quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so too, because I sit there and I think if somebody asks me that, I'm thinking they're wondering if I'm growing, am I adding staff? Am I expanding? Am I moving to a new location? Am I staying where put? Am I adding a branch location? I think about all those things that enter into that kind of question.
I wouldn't tell someone my long-term plan, so that isn't in my business, probably, or I don't know. If you asked me that question, I would say, yeah, I would plan to grow, but like, I'm not gonna tell you like how exactly I plan to grow, because I don't want to put that
Joellen-
out there.
Joelle and Nicole, you did this in 2023. You guys both, I know, met with a couple of different businesses. How did that how'd that go down for you?
It went well. I think that, I think we needed a place to download our info after all this, so it kind of just got left at where we sat. It was valuable. I think the question regarding, do you have businesses in other locations? Several of the businesses that I interviewed, which, we chose that this is gonna be sort of anonymous, had locations in both Snoqualmie and North Bend. So it was interesting to receive data on differences and challenges and whatnot between Snoqualmie and North Bend. So that would have been nice to download. Some of the questions are going to be relevant to just depending on who we interview, and some won't. So I think if we can find some common threads and get, answer as much as we can. But I did feel like I did skip over several questions, depending on who I talked to, because it was kind of redundant. And like Paula was saying, we're trying to get a conversation and not do these bullet pointed questions. So if we could have a place that we could download this, that would be my biggest request. And then in order to get the most transparency from the businesses that we're identifying and talking to, if we could keep it confidential and not name specific businesses, we could maybe identify different groupings like, hospitality, service, retail, restaurant, something like that, in those categories, but not call out business specific. I think we're going to get more transparency and honest conversation.
Is that an expectation that it's kept in confidence, or?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. And I think, if a business wants to be known, great. But if they prefer to be anonymous, I think just giving it a category, whether it's restaurant, retail, service, that's fine. I think that what we hear is most important. And so if it needs to be anonymous,
Well, just kind of like what Nick was saying, he's like, I'm not going to call out if I'm going to,
right.
grow or what my long-term plans are. And me as a business owner, I hold my cards pretty tight as well as what I'm doing as a business. So I'm going to give very broad answers if my business names are identified on a document as
Yeah.
such.
Yeah, and we have found through this process through the years too, it was helpful that it was, you, fellow business owners, community members versus staff or elected officials. So it just even takes down that yet another barrier, another level to the people to have some open conversations.
So probably instead of company name and position and those two first questions, then we just want to know category of business.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I do too.
Yeah, I think the only reason why we might have the company name somewhere is to make sure that we don't have a duplication.
True.
That's all.
Oh, that's,
Well, I think that's,
That would be something you could communicate that to me or Mona or both of us, and then we could just keep a list, but that wouldn't be published in packets or
That's what we
anything
did
like
it
that.
wouldn't
before.
be connected to their answers.
Correct.
Just be. this
Correct.
is who
I
the
would
board
just
is.
know, we would just know who was
questions are kind of funny.
targeted. So that's a bad word. Spoken to. Yeah.
Okay, so I deleted company name and person's name. I have what industry would you describe yourself in? Do you have any locations outside of Snoqualmie? What year did you open or move to Snoqualmie? What keeps you in Snoqualmie? How many employees do you have based in Snoqualmie? Does that mean live in Snoqualmie or work in Snoqualmie? Do you have, let me change that.
I,
Do you have working in Snoqualmie? Working,
I kind of make employees a category and several points within that. How many work in Snoqualmie, or how many live in Snoqualmie? How many drive 30 miles or more to get to Snoqualmie? How many are full-time? How many are part-time? I mean, employees is a
I know.
big category. What are your issues in attracting employees? That's a whole.
How many
interview right there.
employees do you have working in Snoqualmie? And then I'll say maybe how many of those employees live in Snoqualmie?
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, North, I consider.
And that's really, because if
Yeah.
they don't live here, they're clearly commuting.
But like North Bend, I consider that Snoqualmie. On the record.
Well, maybe you say Snoqualmie Valley. How many live
Snoqualmie
in
Valley.
Snoqualmie
Yeah.
Valley?
People own multiple businesses. I think you have two shops over there, the candy store and Carousel. Do we want to know if people have multiple businesses? I don't know if you guys have multiple. Sometimes restaurant owners have multiple. Does that matter? Do we care?
it's, yeah, my response to that, Nick, is the problem is how deep in the weeds are we getting?
Right.
You asked me, depends on it, why, how you're asking. You're talking legal entities, or you're talking about, we almost structure our business. I've got 3 or 4 different kinds of businesses I'm in, but they're all under the same umbrella.
Yeah, right.
So, and it all comes down to taxation and structure. Other places, obviously, some people are in the seed selling business and they also grow hops, you know what I mean? I don't know, just I don't know.
I don't think it needs to be on the form. It can
Be
be
good
a
to
part of,
extract.
it could be part of your conversation, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, so
it's a good question.
going back to the employees, so I would say, how many employees do you have? Do you have working in Snoqualmie? And then how many of those employees live in the Snoqualmie Valley? What are your top 2 or 3 concerns as a business owner leader? What could your local government leaders do to help your business? I have other notes for the end, but then we kind of said something about growth or
Business growth versus economic
barometer.
growth.
Yeah, where did we want to land with that one?
I'm not sure you were asking, it's a great question, but I want to make sure I gleaned what it was you wanted or you were thinking about was economic barometers for the health of the company, I would imagine, is where that's oriented, right?
Outlook, I guess, economic outlook.
What's your, and you wanted to know what the barometers were that based you on your outlook, or no?
I
Don't care.
open-ended.
Yeah, okay.
Can I say, we say 2 or 3 concerns. Can we say, what are you optimistic about?
There you go.
I like that.
I think that's great.
And the
Yeah.
answer can be nothing if you're
Well, I think it's
that's
great.
a bad barometer. Then
Yeah.
that's not good.
Yeah, I think some of these questions need to be open-ended
Yeah.
as opposed to us trying to direct them to specifics.
What are some things you are optimistic about.
Didn't we start out talking about 6 questions?
You know, one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9.
Oh, okay.
That's 9. And some of them are just
And-
easy.
Probably skip if you need
Yeah.
to, but it's, like I said, I think it's just gonna be a conversation.
I do
It's
too.
not,
Okay.
so I think that's good. Now, would that, if we each have that and we're filling that in, does that share then with, I don't know how.
I just shared it with
people's jobs-
Nicole, who I assume will do her thing. Do a spell check on me and send it to everybody else.
So Nick, and all those questions, is one of them, why did you choose to have your business in Snoqualmie? I think Adrian and I had a great conversation earlier this week, and it's, why do you choose Snoqualmie? Because to the council, we need to know that kind of stuff and be reminded why you're here so that we can.
I said, what keeps you in Snoqualmie?
How about make it a 2-part question? Why did you choose
Why
Snoqualmie and what keeps you here?
I think all of you represent an interesting answer to that. I know Joelle was very deliberate of why she chose Snoqualmie. Snow King, very deliberate to build a big, expensive building there, so I think all of you, so if you put that lens on yourself, then somebody else, like, what made them? Maybe they're a Valley resident, they're 3rd generation, that's down to earth, that's why
Love
they're
it.
here, right? But other people have a different story.
Love it.
Are there some, when you're doing these surveys, whether it's this one or any others, do you ever think about listing, what might help design these is sitting in the council or in your like more tighter meetings or whatever? Are there these 5 things you're trying to find out enough information about that you want to, like, clearly you want to know how's your business economic growth directionally moving? And if everybody comes back in a survey and says, hey, we're cutting staff 15 or 20% over the next couple of years, and you get that as a kind of unanimous, you're going, holy cow, we're retracting, right? That's an easy, if you got that kind of response. But if the real theme is how do we market Snoqualmie bigger, better, and braver, you might need more information around quality issues, right? Optimistic issues, why you picked Snoqualmie, because you're looking for content. If there's any of that out there, it'd probably be good to try to lay on top of this so we're framing the questions properly.
Well, and I think as business owners, retention of your employees is important. As a city, retention of the businesses within our community that we have is important, not only to retain what we have,
Right.
both the brick and mortar, but the businesses on the business park. The businesses on the business park, the workers coming in translates into beers after work or lunch at Saints and Scholars, right? We're all like this working together. And then, and how do we don't want to lose you. And how do we get more of you to come? How do we maintain the vitality of the community? Like, how do we keep the dollars here so
Yeah.
that people feel the need, or they don't feel the need that they have to go to Issaquah to spend money, or they don't have to go to North Bend? Like, what do we have here so that we're like a one-stop city? We're never going to have a Target in Snoqualmie, right? We know that. We might never have another grocery store. That's unfortunate. We're potentially losing the one pharmacy that we have in the community. Yes, we have a compounding pharmacy. It's a different type of prescription. So these are the things that I think as council and as staff that we are challenged with.
Right.
And how do we help? So there are some little things, they're not little, but they're achievable. Is updating the historical palette achievable? Yes, it's achievable, and it helps our businesses. Is wayfinding achievable and helps people that come into the community? Yeah, it's achievable. So that's why we need to keep having these things so that we can affect change on the little things. Can we affect tariffs? Probably not. Can we affect
Well,
the-
Nicole, question for you is, do you have anything, I know that the industrial area up in the ridge is a mass exodus, like we have a huge amount of companies that have left. Is there anything that as a city that we're doing to either subsidize or get people in there? Or, there's probably stuff that as a business owner, I'm like, oh, the city can't do anything for me other than
Yeah.
maybe populate the area around me by bringing businesses in. And I don't know
Yeah.
if there's any plan for anything there, but.
I will say that information is kind of, we've gotten some really hard data recently in the last couple of months. And it was a little surprising to us of some of the businesses that have left. And I'm embarrassed to say that that was surprising to us. You know, we should have been on that. So now we're kind of left with, okay, we need to get a better handle of what is actually going on at the business park. And Mona is working on that right now. And what can we do? And I think that would be a next level. Like let's identify what we have, what we've lost, what we can bring in, and then how, you know, yeah, is it an incentive or something that we want people to come here? So that is a topic, Adrian, that affects you, you know, every day. So it's, yeah, it's something that we have to figure out, how can we affect change on this? I don't know if I answered your question, but I hear you. You
Is
know,
the data on what's happened with the park known by the community?
I don't think that the community at large, it's known. I think council is aware of it. Some of the information that we received might not have been as completely accurate as we had hoped. And also some of the people that we have contact information for, they're reticent to share that with us.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for us to get some true answers. And that's what we're struggling to find right now.
Huh?
Yeah.
And maybe one of the questions is, what is your barometer on how you think the city will represent you? I mean, I feel like, you know, the city's let us down a little bit recently, both in the industrial area. I mean, obviously not being able to keep our contract with North Bend. I mean, as far as our police, I mean, it seems as though there's been a lot of misses lately, and we're kind of, obviously, as business owners, we're stuck doing what we do, right? So I think that would be a question: that do you feel like the city's doing a good job, you know, representing you and protecting interests that we care about?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like it's been great.
See, and that,
Do we-
like that, those statements right there, Adrian, might be sentiments that we would hear from other people. And so that's good for us to hear that, take that in, and, and how do we move forward with that?
Yeah, I think that is important. It's funny, literally a week ago, we were sitting around at No Boat and there were other business people with me and we were talking about some things. And somebody made the comment, said, do you know that your parking lot is the busiest parking lot in the park, in the industrial park? And I'm talking about in the middle of the day when everybody should be at work and is not.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can call it out because I see it every day. There's nobody at the Puget Sound Energy Building anymore. I hardly ever see people at Space Labs. There are people there, but it's not very many.
Yeah.
The glass business has cut back quite a bit as it relates to cars, and I don't believe everybody's commuting on transit.
Yeah.
But it's definitely lightened up. Even the King County building over there is
Yes.
light, kind of thing.
Yes.
So clearly people aren't coming in. The operations might still be in place, but they're not coming to the park.
Well, and the PSE, the message that we've heard and that we've verified is a lot of that is the traffic in Highway 18. So their staff has been told you can work remote, because at times that commute is unbearable for a lot of people.
I think
So,
most of the time it's unbearable.
right.
Yeah.
And so can Mayor Ross and council change what's going on Highway 18? Not necessarily.
Right.
However, we can hear this, we can testify, we can talk, we can say, this is an issue, you know, this is what's happening. We can't take our foot off the gas pedal, to use that analogy, but so we can help, but I don't know if we're gonna change it. It's so how do we navigate that? Yeah.
Right.
And the other answer to your question is, we're often with the council at a very high level. If you go to our Growth Management Act, our 2044 plan, we lay out a lot of big themes, and many of them apply to businesses. But what we're not getting into the weeds about are the things that you're going to bring the information forward. How do we become that vibrant community? How do we ensure that we have a healthy business sector? Those are the things that you're going to help us color that in. The document's 150 plus pages, but if you look at it, it is only an overarching theme. So it's really not telling us what are the things that we're doing well, what are the things that we need to work on. So that's the reason going out and getting these surveys done, so that we have more of idea of what the reality is. We set policy, but most of us are not in your shoes day to day, and that will help us in making policies that are helpful for businesses.
Can I ask a question? This might be a Robert's Rule of Order violation, I don't know. But you alluded to something that I find interesting. Traffic. They were gonna close, they didn't, but they were gonna close, we all know that story, right?
Yeah.
What has Preston, Falls City, Snoqualmie, and even North Bend done or doing to mitigate that traffic snarl? Is there anything they're doing? Are they placing some police at intersections to get away from just lights, shutting down things and getting flow going? Or is there anything that is in the game plan today for mitigating that kind of stuff? Hear me out why I ask. I was shocked. I don't know what happened, but something changed down there about a month ago, and I went past Preston, and the entire right lane was like getting off at 18, because I guess people had to loop around and do a U-turn there. I didn't know anything about that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there's nobody at the stop sign, no police, nothing. No, state highway patrol. These people need to be waved through to clear this out. You know how, it's just traffic control, right? Are the cities talking to each other, trying to help make that a less painful experience?
So much of that is between WashDOT and the contractor Aeson. And so we coordinate through the Southeast Area Legislative Transportation Coalition. We meet half an hour once a month, and I've been a part of that. Kelly Coughlin Games is helping to lead that, but it's a number of cities that are involved. We have worked really hard to try to improve the communications with the state on the project. It's weather related too, as they're the 5 days that they were planning on shutting down the interchange at I-90 and SR-18. The weather stopped it, but the reason for doing that is in 5 days they can get 3 months of work done. So WashDOT is sensitive to the needs, particularly with the casino opening up their expansion this summer, of getting the work done as quickly as possible so that it won't cause those delays. But there's just simply not enough like state patrol officers, because they're the ones that are responsible for the freeway, the highway through. And the cities are it's outside of our jurisdiction, so it wouldn't be us. And the other player to this is King County, and unincorporated King County. So those are the reasons why it's so important to have intergovernmental relations, and it takes time, and sometimes there are other factors that we
No, I
just
get it. I could get
simply
them.
can't get around. But to your point, is it impacts your business, right?
Well, yeah, I'm probably not as impacted as others, but we do a lot of business that's outside of the
Mhm.
Snoqualmie area because we
Mhm.
distribute and
Yeah.
things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not disappointing to hear you personally, but it's disappointing to hear that I can go hire a policeman who can carry a gun and a badge easier than my own cities can find somebody to direct traffic, which I find mind bending. And I get the issues. You don't even have to go there. It's just mind bending to me. It's like you can't throw a city cop at a stop sign or on an overpass, which I realize is probably controlled by the state. But really, it's like I can hire a policeman to come and secure my building and walk around the building and arrest people privately, but yet our city can't get somebody to do that?
I think it's fair to say, though, that we don't really, I mean, like, I don't know what the police have been talking about as far as traffic control during those closures. So maybe
Right.
that's something we can look into.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they don't
Yeah,
have
and
a
I'm not
plan in
implying
place.
that they're not, but I can, it's like I speak with my eyes here. I've gone through many traffic stop signs and lights, and I'm like, be nice to have a policeman here right now, just kind of moving people through, and I'm not talking about the power went out and I got a blinking red. I'm talking about like, this is a big backup, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not saying it's the city's fault, don't get me wrong, it's not even oriented there, but I don't know what we're doing, because I just don't know.
I think it comes down to staffing and what you're talking about is state related, so it'd be the state patrol. And I have seen occasional, but there's not enough state patrol officers to go around. And those contracts do not, set aside a certain amount of money for doing what you're
Sure, I
mentioning.
gotcha.
And that's, contracting with
Yeah.
off-duty officers.
And that's cool.
too.
I wasn't trying
Yeah.
to make this, I didn't want to hijack what we're trying to get done here because I could, I get it. And I just like, that's to me, for the last 2 years, all I've heard about is 18 is going to be this, it's going to be that. But we've had a couple of years to try to talk about some game plans here. It seems like, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, I'm not sure the state, the city, the county, everybody is kind of thinking on the same page there.
Yeah.
And granted, we're
Yeah.
this little community in a whole state. I get it.
Yeah, we're definitely impacted. And
Yes.
it's going to be a challenge trying to get the work done, and it's going to take us now 10, 12 years to fully complete what needs to happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry. I hope I didn't.
Well,
Good
we,
feedback.
it's a good discussion, but we do need to get back to the questionnaire. Are we all kind of good with where we're at with it? And so if that, you've sent that to Nicole, you
Yes.
said, and then you'll send it to all of us?
Yes, I will.
And then,
Yes.
so for the next couple of months, we can begin to work on,
Be thinking
Talk-
about who you want to
business
chat with, and then just shoot me an email and let me know. I always try to be respectful of Mona's inbox. Do you want them to send it to me, and I'll just keep good communication
I
with
think
you?
it's good to keep it with you for now,
right.
and you're good about sharing, so.
And Mona is working on staffing up her department. And I
Yes.
know that by the time this information rolls in, she will have someone that can help with this, and I can assist as well. And we're committed, so we will not drop the ball on this. Please go out and do your business visits, and we will do our part to collate the data. And then this fall, we can have a generalized speaking conversation about it, right? Because we're not going to be calling out business owners
Right.
specifically.
okay.
Yeah.
Everybody good with
All right,
that?
I just committed us all to a timeline and some work over the summer.
Good. That's good, but that does bring us to our work plan update.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm happy to give an update. Councilmember Watton mentioned the color palettes a few minutes ago, and yes, we have been having several meetings with the Planning Commission, and we most recently had a public hearing on Monday night. And the Planning Commission approved a new color palette of where he increased, we increased 4 groupings of color to 52 colors.
53.
53, that's right, because we added the color white.
Yeah.
53 colors that can be used throughout, our base, our trim, our doors, we got a lot of great feedback from our business owners and community members. And I know it was really important to the Planning Commission to tackle this, to make it easier for our businesses in the historic downtown to not have to take extra time and extra expense to come in and have a variance done so that they could have a special color on their business that made their business stand out. So that should be moving on to the council in June. So hoping to have that through. We're also in the throes of having the retail development standards in the retail overlay district approved by the council. We have the second reading next Tuesday night, and that will require that 90% of the businesses along downtown Railroad have a retail component to them. And then we will bring a resolution to the council that will hopefully pass to also include Center Boulevard in that retail overlay. the reason that that will come later is because the mixed-use final plan on Snoqualmie Ridge is passed through a resolution, but it references the Snoqualmie Municipal Code that references the mixed-use final plan. It's a little confusing, but the code needs to be updated and codified before we can go in and then update the mixed-use final plan for the Ridge. So, but that should all happen in order, and we should have that done hopefully by the third week in June. So that will also reduce the city's ability, like my position, like for the community development director, was previously able to grant waivers to if a business couldn't bring in a retail component, and that will eliminate that ability to do that. And then for development projects, the mill site, we are getting a little bit of feedback from the mill site that they're, trying to gear up to get going on their project. They've got a lot of cleanup to do. They also need to, they need to come in and probably have a pre-application meeting. So we're starting those discussions around that. Model Train Museum, they are underway with their architectural plans and probably will be coming in to have a pre-app meeting, I'm guessing maybe in July. So that's moving along. The Roundhouse has approval, and so that should be coming in. They're taking extra precautions to not, tie up traffic in downtown when they bring that new Roundhouse through and the way that they place it and everything through on their property. And then the Snoqualmie Valley Health Expansion received their site plan approval and their SEPA decision last week. And so that's currently in the appeal period, but while that's running, we are also moving forward with having meetings on their clear and grade applications so we can keep that project going. So those are the big projects at the moment.
Can I ask, is the museum site picked now?
The model,
railroad
the
model-
model train
Yeah.
museum, they're looking at the site where the bowling alley is.
Oh, they are.
On King
Okay,
Street,
So that's
yes.
not done.
No,
Oh,
I don't think it's a done deal yet, but that's where they're targeting.
Can I ask one more question on that? I don't know this is an issue, so maybe it's not, but is parking something anybody's paying attention to as we bring all
Oh,
these?
Gary, you're
tourists
so glad you
on?
asked that question.
Yes, we have a lot of parking, but take it away,
I'm gonna-
Nicole.
I'm gonna take
We have
that.
350 free parking spots in downtown Snoqualmie that we've identified that do not currently include the
But we're
King Street
gonna
lot.
approve a museum that's gonna draw more people here
Correct.
and no solution
The,
there.
the museum, will they do a traffic impact study as part of their bill? Okay.
Okay, so
We
that'll be
will,
part of-
but they've
okay.
already, the team that's working with them, one of their team members has extensive museum experience, Museum of Flight, to name a few. So they can look at data of how many people come in, what's the churn, what's the turnover. So
Sure.
there would be a constant movement of those parking spots throughout a day,
Yeah.
throughout the day, but,
I hope, I'm gonna plant the seed. I don't need a response.
okay.
People have looked at what's happened to the Bellevue Doll Museum, the Bellevue Art Museum, and I think there's a third one and it evades my memory right now. That's Bellevue, I realize, is a different city. But somebody needs to take a look at that. Because these museums are interesting. Just like a lot of museums, they pique a lot of interest right away. They do this, they do that, and then all of a sudden it's like Bellevue Art Museum's closed. The Doll Museum, which I would personally would put in the same category as the railroad model museums, very specialized, very specific, may be worth looking at what's been going on with them.
So your concern is not the
Well,
parking, but then maybe the nicheness of the type of museum?
I'm not judging it because I
Yeah.
frankly don't have a personal thing about railroads in any way, shape or form. I used to ride them as a kid, loved them.
Yeah.
But, if decisions are being made, if you will, that are important, whether it be getting a parking garage because of expected volume, et cetera, hopefully people are looking at what has and or hasn't happened around some of the museums that have been put in place. And I'm going to leave it at that because I think a lot of it would be opinion on my part, which is not based on data. But I just know there's been plenty of stuff and some good and not so good.
It might be worthy of seeing if we could bring a presentation to the Economic Development
Might be a
Committee
bad
and
idea.
commissioners to, have them present what that museum and event space is going to look like. I think that would be really helpful.
Sure. Because I bring it up only because I don't know where that's going. I don't even have any history with it. So I don't have good information to try to make a point. But I just know there's certain elements in the world today that aren't doing what a lot of people thought they would do. And in other cases have generated issues that weren't anticipated. And I don't think it's all bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to try not to send a red flag up there, but hopefully it's done with eyes open.
Well, and what their projections would be for visitation? Is that what you're talking about, Gary?
Well, I don't know enough to say that. I just,
That's-
maybe you do, Joel, but I just,
I don't,
things, you give up things and you add things. And the question is the value there to do the give up or the add? That's all.
Can I give a little bit of commentary to that? And I think you raised a very good point, Gary, on this and the rest, Joel. We brought this through. I know Community Development Committee of the council had the presentation. I believe we had a presentation earlier on in the EDC,
At the EDC. I know we
I-
had one at the Planning Commission.
at the Planning
We did.
Commission. But my one concern was parking, especially downtown. And if you look at the model train museum pro forma and the number of visitors and you figure, and I went through and I did the back of the envelope calculation, how many an hour, because today when you go to a museum, it's a timed entry thing in many times. And that would be probably the case with this. It works out to be about 30 to 40 cars an hour. Based on the numbers that they needed to break even to make this thing happen. And we heard that parking is more than adequate downtown to handle that. So I guess that, and I did raise that question in council and we talked about it. So I just want to help, assuage any fears that this is going to be a disaster. The worst thing that we have is too much traffic and not enough, roadway or not enough parking spaces.
Right.
But I'm confident that if this actually happens, and there's a lot that they have to do yet to raise the money, and they've got some excellent people that have worked on museums across the country working on this one. So I'm confident, but it's always good to be a little bit cautious.
Cautiously optimistic. Sure.
I have a question going back to the color palette. I was online for a while listening to the Planning Commission, but didn't finish to the end. And my question is, because the palette, which I'm in agreement of, is going to be much more desirable, with the 53 colors. Now that business or owners and, that own the business and then landlords of businesses have more of a variety, like, is everybody going to gravitate to like the cooler, browns and, stark white? Are we going to limit how many businesses can have those more? Because I have a feeling that people are going to gravitate toward the colors that are more desirable versus like the very muted greens and grays and, whatnot, that we have limitations so that the whole block is not brown or white or black. So that
Yes, there is a
okay.
condition that they discussed during the meeting. One of the parameters is that they can't have colors, the color, any new color needs to be compatible with the business next door but it needs to also
Okay.
be different.
Okay, so kind of like an HOA, the kind of situation. Okay, sort of.
Sort of. I mean, it
Or
doesn't,
permitting.
I mean, we'll look at that when they come in to do like their tenant improvement permits. So that will be reviewed
Okay,
as part of the planning permit.
thank you.
And I've talked with Mona, that's part of the work that I'm gonna need to do is to communicate to the downtown business owners and perhaps even their landlords that we're at the point now, if someone takes over a new building or they want to paint or something, they really should come to the city and have a conversation with us before they do that to get guidance, to maybe kind of seek approval. Because the last thing that we want is for a business owner to paint a building and then we come through and with code enforcement and say, you got to repaint again. So I really, that's going to be on Mona and I to communicate with everybody. You got to talk to us first. Like, just ask all the questions. It's the same thing as if you were a business in the Ridge or anywhere else. Like, I think it's wise. Go in, ask the questions first so that you aren't blindsided later on down the way.
And
I-
then last but not least, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna, the commissioner interest, like in 20 seconds, because we don't have a lot of time. What is going on with the Bartels on the Ridge? Is that one definitively
That's closing.
closing, and when?
It's
Like in a
closing. I
week?
don't know if we have a date.
June
when.
9th.
June 9th?
June 9th.
That's
Thanks,
what's on
Gary.
the record now.
And do we know what, I'm sure it's not in the city's interest to have a big vacant building. Do we know what might happen, or?
We've just preliminarily started to have those conversations. I know that when Safeway and Bartels came in at the same time, there were things that Safeway couldn't do with Bartels. So we need to talk internally about, our next steps, but not having a pharmacy currently in Snoqualmie and a vacant building is concerning.
Safeway doesn't have a pharmacy?
They do not. I believe that the agreement was that Safeway
yeah.
could not have a pharmacy, therefore they took the increased square footage in their store. I think it was for the deli. So, I think maybe the first conversation that the city needs to have is with the Safeway Corporation.
Okay.
We're in a,
Get drugs at
Director
Novo.
Davis, did you have something?
I
on
was
this?
only going to mention that hopefully we're working on getting some staff hired. And so we've been really struggling without having a permit tech or planning staff. And so we're hopefully going to be ramping up and we should be staffed by this summer. So that's all I had. But
Okay,
always
thank
feel
you.
free to reach out to me if you have any questions about something going on. Feel
It-
free to reach out.
Is it fair to say that, it sounds to me like it is, but I'm gonna ask those who've been here for a little while, is the business climate taking up quite a bit of mind share of the city right now? Or not? Relatively speaking, that's why I ask.
I mean, I think that we're always looking at the business climate, and I think the biggest concern we're dealing with right now around that, like our own business here at the city, is just making sure that people that are coming in for jobs have a place to live. And housing right now is a real concern.
Yeah,
So,
so it's status quo, which is not bad. I was just curious if it's like started to consume more of your meeting time, bandwidth, but it sounds like it's probably not.
no, there's, no, I would say no, it's
Yeah.
probably the
And I'm not
same.
even suggesting it should be. I was just curious.
Looking to wrap up as it's 10 o'clock, assuming, or not assuming, I guess I'll ask, any more commissioner interest that you need to bring up today? Nope. Do I have a motion then to adjourn?
yes. I motion.
Thank you. How about a second?
Second,
And approved? Aye.
I.
And any nays? Okay.
You can shadow me and Mona today. You can stick around.
Thanks, everybody.